Sisters, come together now, come together now. It's time to help each other out, help each other out. It's time for transformation, time for healing. You got the potential, you've got the power now. We can soar. Sisters overcoming and rising. Inspiration, interviews, and more. We can soar. A sisterhood for healing and empowerment. Join Dr. Stephanie and soar.
Good evening.
Hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome to SOAR, Felicia.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Brown.
I'm so excited to talk about our topic because I have two teens and I know lots of people who have teens. So, teens are definitely dear to my heart. And our topic tonight is about teaching our teens that social media is the ingredient and not the entree, and basically talking about how social media affects the mental health of our teenagers. So, can't wait to get into that topic. But
Yeah.
before we get into the topic, I always like to introduce my guest and just read a little bit of your bio. So we have Felicia Gladney with us here this evening. She is born and raised on the west side of Chicago. Felicia, without a doubt, took the wings beneath her and fought any and every obstacle she faced and soared like a lion. With a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in addictions counseling, and currently in school to obtain her PhD, Felicia has worked for over 23 years as a social worker, supervisor, helping children return home to their biological families and completing successful adoptions. With a personal vision to help one reach one by allowing people to share their mess, to create a message, Felicia is committed to empowering people to be their best selves. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I always like to start off with just giving you the opportunity to tell your story. In this community, I feel that we connect with each other by sharing our stories, and it also gives us an opportunity to use our voice. And for a long time, many of us have not felt like we had the permission to use our voices. So just share with us in whatever way is most authentic for you what your story is.
Yes. So I was born, like you said, and raised on the west side of Chicago. I am number seven of the children that my mom gave birth to. And being the youngest, I had the opportunity to endure and witness a lot of things that my mom had endured, from being physically abused, growing up seeing different family members who were addicted to drugs, alcohol, and things of that nature. And so within that, it caused a lot of insecurities within myself, a lot of doubt, a lot of fear. And so in addition to that, just having all of that, being bullied as a kid and
Mhm.
having people, just kind of torment me and make fun of me, it played a lot on my mental health, which kind of stemmed into my adulthood, my relationships with men, having been molested by a man. And so it stayed dear and resonated to my heart the most when I started working in foster care, and
Mhm.
how a lot of these young girls were affected in the same similar way that I was. And so my heart just really poured into young teen girls because they lack a lot of real, I should say, images of what Black women or any woman should represent, because social media does portray an image that is not always the true
Mm.
image of what we should be. So that's kind of one of the reasons why my focus was on mental health in young girls.
Yeah. Wow. You have endured a lot. I see why your bio says that you faced every obstacle and soared over them like a lion. Um, so that is very inspirational, what you just went over, because a lot of people, as a life coach, I work with people all the time who have issues with self esteem, who have not gone through as much as you've gone through. But the fact that you have come out on the other side and are able to do the work that you're doing is really a testament that anybody can overcome whatever their barriers are. So thank you for sharing that and just being vulnerable.
Yes.
Now, social media is definitely a hot topic. And you mentioned that some of the images of women, and especially of Black women, are not really authentic to who we are on social media. But why? My first question is, why do you think that social media affects teens and teen girls so much?
Well, when you look at the times when we were growing up, we didn't have all of this. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have
Mhm,
Facebook. All we had was our next door neighbors or someone we just played with in the community. And so we just saw the image of ourselves every day. Now with social media, people have ways of putting filters up. They have ways of just portraying things that are not always authentic, like you said, and true to who they really are. And so I feel that social media has damaged a lot of young ladies, and not just young teen girls, women as well, because they
mhm,
feel the need to have to compete with what they are seeing on social media. So that's
mhm.
one of the reasons why I feel that a lot of these young girls are being affected today. And I love your topic today, just the ingredients. They are the ingredient and not the entree. That is an amazing topic, by the way. I
Thank
love it.
you. Thank you. Now, you just talked about how social media affects teens, but can you talk a little bit more about how it affects their mental health? So I can understand that seeing these images that aren't realistic makes you doubt who you are, and your that you're beautiful if you're seeing unrealistic standards of beauty. But are there other ways that social media kind of affects mental health in our teens?
Yes. So in 2020, I saw a major increase with suicidal attempts, depression, anxiety. With the pandemic happening, a lot of girls, just teens as well, became obsessed with just looking at social media because there was pretty much nothing else to do at that time. And
Mhm.
so I saw an increase in that, but it was a lack of services out there to provide for these young women who were thinking about suicide or having panic attacks because they're being bullied. A lot of
Mhm.
bullying takes place on social media. Um, it's unreal. I mean, the things that a lot of these kids see on social media now. I mean, we were sheltered. I know I was sheltered when I was growing up, so
Mhm.
my mom kind of kept me away from a lot of those things. But now even if you try to put certain apps on parental apps on phones, it's still so much out there that these girls know how to connect with social media, and they read these comments, they believe what these comments are, and they don't believe in who they are. They don't know who they are or value
Mhm.
what their worth is. And so I believe social media, it's the good and it's the bad, because I know for situations like this, it's a way to put out content, for what we're doing to promote mental health. But at the same token, it also hinders and put a damper on a lot of these young girls.
Absolutely. One of the things that you said, you talked about bullying. We don't even know anything about bullying via social media, because when we were growing up, bullying happened in person. And then the other thing, I know we tried to put certain filters and apps on our kids' phones. They figured it out.
Yes.
This is their playground. They know
Yeah.
much more about technology and social media than we'll ever know. So they'll always be able to figure out how to get around whatever blocks we're trying to put on.
Hmm.
And it's like the world is wide open to them in a way that it was never open to us. And they're just exposed to so much. It's yeah, it's amazing that they even learn how to navigate it. But I like what you said about the comments. People can be so mean on social media.
Ooh.
The keyboard warriors just hiding behind a computer screen, having that sense of anonymity. They say some really hateful and mean
Hmm.
things. And
Hmm.
as teenagers, they're already in a space of development where they don't know who they are. They're not supposed to yet. They're just developing who they are. And then you have um, this mix of meanness and images that aren't correct. It just kind of can really mess with their own self-image and their own development.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you are really providing services for our girls. I think
Yeah.
sometimes affects girls more than boys, but for everyone to be able to feel whole and get the help that they need when they find themselves in that situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, the other thing I wanted to ask about is gaming. I know gaming is not
Mm.
quote unquote social media, but there's a social aspect to it too. And you can talk to people through games. And I don't understand it all because I don't play video games, but I've seen so many young boys, teenage boys, and some girls who are like addicted. Can you talk a little bit about gaming?
Oh, my child. Listen, I have an 11-year-old, and it started out with this Roblox where they
Mhm.
were all just playing with one another. But now, like, I do phone checks. Like, I need to see what's on your phone, who you're talking to. And now it's like a big thing. They have I can't even tell you some of the name of these games, but they are like addicted to it. And it's not like you
Mhm.
said, it's not just boys, it is girls. My 11-year-old, I have to stop her sometime because she's up at 6 o'clock in the morning on
Mhm.
this game with her friends. I'm like, who are you talking to at 6 o'clock in the morning? But it's like the new trend now, because if you notice, I noticed I was driving down the street last year in the summertime. Now, growing up, you would see kids outside
Mhm.
playing in the front yard. No, the news playing outside is on the phone, on the games, and all I hear is, "Oh, go over here, open the door, save me," and it's just like, "What? Save you from what?" So
Exactly.
it is really huge. Like, and I talk about this all the time. Like, you gotta really control that social media because if you don't, like, all she wants to do is social media, go eat, social media, go eat. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, we gotta cut this out. So yeah, it's a really big thing now.
And I've experienced the same thing with my boys. And it's almost as if, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's almost
I
as
am.
if that the games and the things are designed to keep us distracted and to keep us from being, involved in real life and to just control our minds. I guess that's the simplest way I can say it.
It's to control our minds. It also sends subliminal messages, because sometimes you see very satanic things in some of these
Mhm.
games. And you have to be really careful what they're looking at because if you see that they're seeing this all the time, every day, and they begin to start believing in certain things to the point where she was one questioning, if God is real. Oh, no, no. Oh, God is real. So it's like you have to be careful because they do send subliminal messages.
Wow. Yeah. Um, Having those conversations and being able to talk to your children from whatever they're being exposed to, I think is probably like one of the only things that we have really. I think I heard my boy say something about voting doesn't matter. And I'm like, where did you hear that from? You did not hear that in this household
Yeah.
because we are always out voting for every election. So I'm like, where did they get that from? So it could have been school, but I'm sure it's also from like TikTok and YouTube videos that they watch. And these kids are spouting this information. So much seeps into them and they're like sponges at this age that, yeah, we have to be really, really vigilant.
I tell people all the time, I feel like I'm in competition with the internet because I can have a conversation with my daughter and she's literally on the phone Googling. Well, Google says this. And I'm like, no, but mommy said this, So I have to constantly just stay in her ear because she's getting advice from her friends. She's getting advice from the
Mhm.
internet. And like you said, TikTok. I mean, you got so many people on TikTok that are just gurus of a wealth of knowledge, and some of it is always their own personal experiences and not
Right.
factual. And so I have to make sure I'm having those conversations with her every morning when I'm dropping her off at school.
Yeah. Now, I know we're talking about the effects of social media on teens, teen girls and teen
Hmm.
boys, but I definitely think that it also affects us. It affects us as adults. So, what do you think some of the hazards of social media are for us?
I have this conversation with my girlfriends all the time. And one of the things you see a lot of people, what are these workout ads?
Mhm.
The big butts, the perfect body, the Coca-Cola body. Your hair has to be a certain way. You have to look a certain image. And I talk to so many different women who see these things on social media and they're like, man, I wish I could have a butt like that. Or man, I wish I can look like that. And it's like, do you love the body that you're in? And so if it is to a point that you don't like it, what are you doing to take care of it? Are you working out? Are you eating healthy? You a lot of this stuff is not real. People are going and buying um, fake butts, breasts, whatever it is to enhance themselves, to make themselves feel better. But in the long run, it's actually just trying to mask their insecurities. And until you actually heal that insecurity that you're feeling deep down inside, you're going to continue to always compare yourself against another woman or whatever's being shown on social media.
Absolutely. I There were some comments in here, and one of them was absolutely has social media has given a false sense of reality and how it affects them mentally. And I think they're talking about our teens. And then there was another one, which is a question. I would love to know what your thoughts are and what you personally feel is a good age to allow teens to have social media based on their mental and emotional maturity.
See, it's really hard to engage what is appropriate. The thing I always tell people is you have to really monitor. I monitor my daughter's phone every day. I'm doing a phone check. Um, it's kind of hard to escape from that because that's just the norm that we see. We see babies with cell phones in their hands. We see toddlers. We see kids of all ages because a lot of times parents are so busy now that the only way that they can feel that they can get some peace of mind is to just throw a tablet or something in their phone. But we have to get back to the old ways of just spending time with our kids, playing board games, watching movies, going out to dinner, just playing at the park. So it's really based upon that parent and where they're at with their child and what they should allow them to watch. That's what I would do.
Hmm. Yeah, I know for us, I think we had for social media, I think we had the 13, and it was just one social media site. Like and we had to choose which site it was. And I think it was Instagram. And so they knew they had to wait until they were 13. And it was just one site because, like you said, we have to monitor it. And so if I have to monitor something, I need to make it manageable for me to be able to monitor. And another thing, um, what you just said about limiting the amount of social media and making sure that they interact with other things. I know at Christmas, I did a detox. So on Christmas Day, they couldn't be on social media. They couldn't even be on their phones. So they had to like text their friends or whatever, either before it started or after it ended. And I got a lot of, complaints about it. But
Sure.
it went well. They survived and they interacted with their cousins. And I think that they were a lot more present than they would be. And I think we have to do that for ourselves. But as children, as teenagers, they're not as mature to be able to do that for themselves. So sometimes as
Mhm.
parents, we have to do that for them.
Yeah. And I just want to add too, even with just the one social media, everything is so intertwined now. You can now see TikTok from Instagram. You can now see certain Facebook ads, YouTube. And so again, just if you are going to utilize just that one website, just still monitoring what it is that they're seeing in their feeds, because certain algorithms, if you like it, it'll continue to come up.
That's really a good point. That's a great point. So it feels like we're fighting a losing battle, but
We are.
we're
We
gonna
really,
win here.
yes, yes.
We're gonna win. So as mothers and aunties and godparents and educators and just the village in general, we
Hmm.
worry about our teens. Their experience growing up, as we've talked about, is revolutionarily different than ours. In the summertime, we were out playing, we were home when the street lights went down, and the amount of access they have them to information, good information and bad information, is just, we can't even wrap our brains around it. So we've talked about some of the things that we can do in terms of monitoring their social media, monitoring their phones. But even if we're monitoring their phones, they can see things with their friends. They can use their computers at school. So what else can we do besides the things we've already talked about just to make sure that our teens are safe and well?
Well, for me, I'm a woman of faith. I always pray and I try to instill that in my children as well. Um, we have to develop that trust, and me and my daughter, we have this talk all the time. There's a give and there's a take. You have to give something in order for me to give something. If you take, then I'm going to take. So if you don't want me to take your cell phone, don't do anything that's going to jeopardize me having to take that. And so we have those serious conversations because I need her to understand the seriousness of
Mhm.
predators. I need her to understand the seriousness of kidnapping, people playing or portraying themselves as a kid. So you have to just continue to just have open, honest conversations, and just allow them to be themselves. But at the same time, I'm gonna be their mom. Okay, I'm gonna be that mom that's gonna check. And just hope that you just instill the best in them.
Yeah, I feel like when we were kids, and I'm probably older than you are, but when I was a kid, it was more of kids are to be seen and not heard. There was definitely not as much dialogue and conversations between parents and kids. But nowadays, it is very necessary. You can't just kind of let your kids come home and do whatever because there's just so much that they can be exposed to, and just keeping that open dialogue. And definitely prayer. Prayer is the number one on the list. I definitely pray for that every day because some things really are out of our control, but they're not out of God's control.
That's true. I like what you said that kids weren't supposed to be heard. And I remember growing up, remember we used to go outside, and if we came in the house, mama would be like, if you come in that house one more time, you're gonna stay in. But now, now my daughter asks, can I go outside? Well, who outside? Well, what you need? It's like, let me go with you. Times have really truly changed because you have to just really monitor your kids and everything that's going on around because of social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you are the founder of an amazing organization called Destiny Alliances Services. And from what I understand, the platform provides counseling to couples. You speak to young girls. I think right before we got on this call, you said that you were busy. You've been from state to state because you have girls in different states. And you also provide services to women who have insecurities or who struggle with depression, low self esteem, or who have been molested and made to feel inferior. That is some really deep and powerful work that you are doing. I would love to know a little bit more about the organization and what you do and how you provide your services.
Yes. So, and I'll start with one, the couples. So my husband and I actually started that probably, oh my God, so many, many years ago. And we had saw so many of our friends get divorced. And we were like, why are you divorcing? And it was a lack of communication. It was a lack of understanding their love language. It was a lack of just dating themselves or dating one another. And so we had started doing that as a part to try to save marriages. We would have something that we did every year. It was called an Evening of Romance. And it was a night that we just honored couples, allowed them to come. They danced. We had a couple of the year. We had performances. We had entertainment. So that's how it all originated. The part with the young girls then later came because of me working in foster care, and working with so many teen girls and just seeing that, okay, yes, they're in foster care, but what services are really helping these young ladies? And so I wanted to be able to provide something more beneficial to them. So my first event that I did, I hosted a teen conference. And at that conference, I had different speakers talk about what mental health looks like, who you can call. I had different therapists on that day that talked about, it's okay to seek help because a lot of girls feel like therapy is for the whack, is what I've heard, or therapy, you don't need that, and it's like, man, even at my age, almost 50 years old, I still need therapy, because I'm processing everybody else's feelings. I need to decompress as
Absolutely.
well. So that's how that all came about. And it's a passion of mine. Like I said, having gone through what I've gone through as a young girl and even into my adult life, it is my passion and my mission to help these young ladies understand they are beautiful, to love themselves no matter what anyone says, to not realize or feel that reality is what they see on social media. Reality is what you see in the mirror, you. And that's what you have to start to love first.
Wow. When you talked about the teen conference and you talked about having, therapists and support on hand for the teenagers, what does depression typically look like in teenagers? Because, you know, the teenage years, it's kind of hard. They're moody anyway. Their
Mhm.
hormones are raging. A lot of times I'll see teen girls and their natural posture is just to kind of be sitting back and not saying anything and to have this attitude like they're angry with the world.
Mhm.
So, how do you know if a teenager in your life might be suffer from depression? What are some of the signs you can look for?
Depression looks in many different ways for many different kids. Someone with depression, they can look like they're happy, they're smiling all the time, but then go home and they're sad and they're depressed. Sleeping all the time, that's a sign. Disassociating with the world, not doing things that they typically like to do. Angry, just being angry all the time. Oh gosh, it's so many different things, and it just depends on that person because and you have to know that child too. If you have a teen that's normally bubbly and now all of a sudden they're just quiet, withdrawn, introverted to themselves, I would start looking at that to see like what's going on, or if they're always in their phone and they don't want to do anything with family. It's so many things. You just have to look for those red signs, especially when you know what your child normally typically does on a daily basis. So it varies from youth to youth.
Those are some really good tips though. And I really like what you said about anything that is out of the ordinary for your child. If all of a sudden they just don't want to do things they normally do and they're just kind of staying in their room and just on their phone, then that definitely should raise a red flag and
Mhm.
um, have them evaluated by a professional. It's not our job as parents and aunts and everything to make the diagnosis. We just want to be aware and see if there's something that needs further evaluation.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's awesome. Now, also, in addition to you have ministries that you work with at church, and you have the Destiny Alliance services. You also have a fairly new book that came out, which is called "My Pain, Your Healing." So, congratulations on the book.
Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, we want to hear a little bit about it. We know you can't give away all the secrets because we got to buy the book, but just give us a little bit.
Yes. So my pain, your healing, that came about. Oh my gosh. I have been dealing with this for like 10 years, struggling to just share my story and everything that I had gone through. And I remember one day just sitting in the doctor's office, and this lady out of nowhere just started talking to me about everything that she had endured. And so inside of me, I was like, oh, you should write a book. And she was like, oh, no, I could never share my story. I would be so embarrassed. And it hit me. I had an epiphany. And I was just like, man, if I told my story, maybe that would inspire others to want to
Mhm.
share their story. So that's how my pain, you're healing. So if I share my pain, you'll be healed from that and want to then tell your own story.
Wow, that's so in sync with what I just said at the beginning in terms
Yeah.
of how sharing our stories allows us to bond and allows us to use our voice.
Hmm.
Just like you said, it gives other women permission to use their voice and speak up the more we speak up. Um, so the book is really kind of your life story and how you've overcome and healed from the pain that you've experienced.
Yes, it's various chapters that talk about me being molested, being abused, seeing my mother be abused, different relationships that I was in that were unhealthy and toxic. So it just talks about different things that I've overcome. And it took me a long time. It took me 10 years. I had been writing that book for 10 years. And it wasn't until 2015 when I actually saw the person who molested me and how all of those feelings came back. And I did not realize that I still had not healed from that. And so I sought out to have therapy. And in that process of seeking therapy, I then wrote my book and I just shared it. I didn't hold back any regrets of what I said. It was my thoughts, it was my feelings, and what happened to me. And so if people didn't like it, I did not care at that time because it was my story.
Wow. And I was going to say it had to have taken a long time to write a book like that.
Yeah.
When you're sharing your story and you've got some deep pain in there, that it's got to, because you probably have to process after every chapter, this
Mhm.
processing all of that. But it must have also been pretty cathartic to be
Mhm.
able to kind of get it down on paper and just kind of let it go.
It did. It really did. And once I put it out there, it was just like, okay, the world knows now. There's no hiding from that. But it also helped me at the same time because now I'm able to share what I've been through with other women and young girls, and they can relate to that. And that was my whole point in doing the book, is to be able to touch somebody in that way.
Hmm. Absolutely. And we have somebody who loves the title of your book. I love it too. My Pain, Your Healing. That is very motivating title. And then I think you have another book too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I
So
have
what?
working on 2 more at the same time.
Wow, you are on fire. Oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
what's the other book about?
The other book is The Struggles of a Woman. And so, again, this going back to social media, we deal with so many different things. We women, we carry a lot. We're mothers, we're wives, we're aunties, we're teachers, we're professionals. We do so much. But at the same time, when we come home, who is catering to us? Who is catering when we had that bad day? Sometimes we struggle with anxiety. I struggle with anxiety, and no one was there to really help me through that, and so we have to be able to be vulnerable, but at the same time, be able to reach out and seek that help when we need it. So it just talks about different things that women go through, from insecurities to depression to anxiety to low self-esteem, whatever you can think of that women go through on a daily basis.
Hmm. Amen to that. I know someone who is in the process of starting a nonprofit organization, and she wants to target foster kids and helping them to giving them grants and gap funding so that they can go to college or graduate from college. So I'm just anxious to hear how you started Destiny Alliance's services. What was that process like, building the business or itself?
I actually have to give credit to my husband. My husband has a lot of faith in me. He was like, "Babe, you should do this, you should do that." I'm like, "What? You think so?" Because as a person, you've probably been through it as well. Like, it sounds good, but that's not me. And he really pushed me into doing it. And I really thank him for that, because if he had not, it would just still be a vision. It would just still be something that I'm talking about. But now I'm actually living it and helping people. And so I really give credit to him. It was a conversation in a car, and it came to fruition 2 years ago.
Well, congratulations. I know that you've already blessed so many lives with the organization, and that you're going to bless more. So you got your master's degree in counseling, right?
Addiction counseling.
Addiction counseling. So is your husband an MBA? Like, how did you know how to start a business?
Google, internet. No, but no, me and my husband, we do have another business together, Hitman Legacy, where he trains and coaches young boys into different sports. My son actually plays for the Chicago White Sox, and so he was actually my son's first trainer. And so that's how a lot of our training came. Well, he started his training through that way.
Congratulations. So the whole family is just doing big things. So that is wonderful. But I mean, genuinely, it is wonderful to see how you can come from a situation where you are a victim, and I know a lot of people don't like that word, or um your power has been taken from you, right? um to a place where you have regained your power back and achieved some of life's highest achievements and been able to pour into other people's lives. The only thing that comes to mind when I think about that is that's God. God can really take you on a journey in this lifetime and pull you from wherever you are. So for our teenagers, just for them to know, like, not to give up, that no matter what it looks like on social media or what it looks like in real life, there is another day, there's another opportunity, and you can go from wherever you are to wherever you dream of being. So I think that just having you there to show them that, and what you do, what you say, and just how you live your life is a huge, huge blessing to them.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. One of the questions I always ask of all of my guests, because this is, Sisters Overcoming and Rising. And just like you talked about with your second book, as women, we overcome so many different things. And then we continue to rise and we continue to soar. But what were some of the specific limiting beliefs that you had to overcome in order to get to where you are today?
You had to be a certain size in order to be a model. I was told when I used to model that I had to be a size 8 and smaller. That put a lot of doubt in me. That put a lot of insecurities in me. And I started doubting who I was as a person. And so not allowing anyone to tell me that I have to be a certain size, a
Mhm.
certain weight to be anything that I want to be in life.
Hmm.
Another obstacle I had a third grade teacher told me that I would never be anybody. And I had to prove
Mhm.
her wrong. And so when I graduated college, I went back to that elementary school, took her my diploma and showed her. I said, I am somebody. So
Ugh.
never let anyone tell you that you can't.
Yeah. I'm just totally taking both of those things in. And I don't know why people go into the teaching profession if they're not going to encourage children. I had a fourth grade teacher who told me, I never recommended you for the gifted and talented program because you just talk too much. You were just always talking. And so I didn't get recommended until like sixth grade. But that put doubt in my mind and
Yeah.
it caused me to stop talking. It caused me to kind of quiet that voice because I'm like, okay, I talk too much. This is not a good thing. And it took me a long time, adulthood, like not too long ago, to
Yeah.
really get my voice back and to realize that my voice was powerful and I could use my voice. So
You have
I'm
a
glad that you
powerful
proved me
voice.
wrong.
Yes, you have a powerful voice. You're opening a platform for so many women. And see, she didn't understand that what you're doing today was going to be benefiting somebody else. So while she tried to put doubt in you, only thing she did was just elevate you to this level. So we appreciate you for opening this platform and just being a voice for so many other women who go through insecurities and struggle. So I love Sisters Overcoming and Rising. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm receiving that wholeheartedly. And I also love what you said about being a model. Like one of the things that encourages me about teenagers and the younger generation is that I see so many girls who are dancers who do not have that typical dancer's body that it looked like you had to have when I was younger. When I was younger, it seemed like everybody had to be a certain size, a certain body type. Like you couldn't have a butt and be like a regular dancer who was taken seriously. And so, one of the things that I do commend the girls for these days is that they are willing to pursue their passions and not let people tell them that they can't because of their size. And some of that might be because of, artists like Lizzo, but even before her, I
Yes.
saw I saw mothers also putting their kids in dance classes no matter what size they were. It's like, you're not going to be limited by this fake belief that you have to be a certain size.
Yeah, you have to find whatever that kid's niche is. If they love dancing, let them dance, no matter what size they are. If they want to play, I tell young girls, you want to play flag football, go play it. You have just as much strength and talent as the next person. So, encouraging these young girls to just, hey, let me try it, because you don't ever want to have any doubt to say, man, I wish I could have, would have. You can now say, man, I did it and I tried it and I probably never do that again. Or or that was fun. I want to do something else with it. So you got to allow them to be themselves and say, let me try this on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps keep them off social media, right? If they find something that they love,
Hmm.
then they can have other ingredients to their life and other, entrees that they get to feast off of, not just social media.
Yes. And when I thought about that title with the entree, I was like, what is the entree? The entree is what comes from the beginning at the meal. It's just a little snack here and there. But the ingredient, man, you're the ingredient. You're the sauce. You what give the flavor. And so if we can
Absolutely.
get girls to see that they're the flavor to the ingredient, man, we'll have some strong, powerful women out here.
Absolutely. You're the flavor. You're the flavor. I'm the
Yes.
flavor. All our young girls out here are the flavor. So
Yes, ma'am.
absolutely, absolutely. So I'm so glad that you were able to take some time to spend with us because I know your schedule is very busy. But I wanted to ask you, how can we follow you? How can we reach out to you if we want to utilize the services of Destiny Alliance? And how can we purchase your books?
Yes, so thank you so much for this opportunity. My books, you can purchase them on Amazon.com. If you type in the titles, The Struggles of a Woman, or My Pain, Your Healing, or just type in my name, Felicia, Felisia, Gladney, Gladney, you'll find both of my books on Amazon. I'm also on Instagram with Destiny Alliance Services, and then on Facebook as my name, Felicia Gladney.
Okay, wonderful. Well, everybody will be following you on Instagram and Facebook and going to Amazon and getting those books because we all need the encouragement. And I'm sure we know somebody that would make the perfect gift to, as we encourage each other as women and as we encourage our teenagers. So I'm just so thankful that you took the idea of having Destiny Alliance and didn't just let it stay an idea, that you actually acted on it. And as a business owner, it's hard work creating a business, but you thought it not, too hard to pour into other people's lives, that you were willing to do that. So I wish you all the blessings, and I just wish for your organization to prosper and to grow, and for you to have absolutely every resource that you need to do the work that you've been called to do.
I receive all of that, Dr. Brown. Thank you so, so much.
You are very welcome, and have a good evening, and we will be in touch.
Thank you. Have a great evening too.